What if I told you that a tiny coin most people would dismiss as ordinary pocket change, a simple 1967 USA 1-cent coin, could actually be tied to an unbelievable story of hidden value, mystery, and historical intrigue worth an astonishing $128 million, and today we are diving deep into why this particular cent has become the stuff of legends among collectors, historians, and treasure seekers, because when you peel back the layers of minting practices, the errors, the design quirks, the turbulent era in which it was produced, and the chain of circumstances that surround its survival, you uncover a narrative so fascinating that it feels like a Hollywood script waiting to be told, but instead it exists in the palm of your hand as a piece of copper history. And to understand why this coin stands out, we first have to remember the context of 1967 in American coinage history, a year of transition when the U.S. Mint was responding to intense public pressure, coin shortages, and sweeping changes in metallic composition and design choices, because just a couple of years earlier the Coinage Act of 1965 had shaken up everything from silver content in quarters and dimes to mint mark suspensions, meaning that for several years the mint removed identifying marks to discourage hoarding, and as a result coins minted in 1965, 1966, and 1967 came without mint marks, which already makes the 1967 cent stand out as part of a peculiar chapter in history, but the intrigue deepens when you learn about the minting anomalies of this year, because while the official mintage was massive, the rushed production, the experimental adjustments, and the constant wear on dies created a breeding ground for errors, misstrikes, doubled dies, off-centers, clipped planchets, and transitional mistakes that today are the very factors that push values from a penny to millions. And while an ordinary 1967 cent might still just buy a memory, a special error-laden or unique survivor has been documented in numismatic lore as fetching unimaginable sums, with some legends whispering that one such coin, with nearly flawless preservation and a spectacular minting blunder, was valued at $128 million, instantly making it one of the most expensive cents in human history. So let's unravel the possibilities that fuel such worth, because error types alone provide endless fascination. Take the double die obverse where the date or lettering appears with ghostly shadows and duplicated outlines. The kind of flaw only visible under careful magnification but instantly transforming a common coin into a treasure, or the off-center strike where the coin blank failed to align properly under the dies, leading to a dramatic crescent of missing design. Each of these quirks makes the coin not a defect but a masterpiece of chance, as if fortune itself stamped a one-of-a-kind signature on the coin. Then you consider clipped planchets where the blank was cut improperly, leaving curved bites out of the edge, a physical manifestation of the mint's industrial chaos during that era. And when you pile these possibilities together you begin to understand why a select handful of these 1967 cents are revered, because beyond their errors they capture the historical energy of a time when America was grappling with social upheaval, technological change, and the very redefinition of money. And collectors are not just buying metal when they chase these coins, they are buying the story of a nation. The thrill of rarity, and the magic of owning something that slipped through the cracks of perfection. But why would one be valued at $128 million? The answer lies partly in the nature of collecting itself, because once you combine extreme rarity, a famous provenance, and fierce bidding wars between ultra-wealthy enthusiasts, the sky is the limit. And documented cases of coins such as the 1933 Double Eagle fetching tens of millions prove that the market will pay staggering sums when rarity intersects with demand. And in the case of the 1967 cent rumored at $128 million, it is believed to have a combination of multiple error types, an immaculate mint state condition that defies its age, and a backstory tied to discovery at a time when people least expected, creating a mythology that drives its perceived value higher than logic might allow. Yet in collectibles logic often bows to passion, and when passion meets scarcity you get numbers like $128 million, but beyond value lies fascination, because the 1967 cent teaches us about the imperfections of human systems, how machines under pressure reveal cracks, and how what was once a mistake becomes a marvel decades later. And when you hold one of these cents you are reminded that history can hide in plain sight, that wealth can be disguised as worthlessness, and that sometimes the smallest objects carry the loudest echoes of the past. So when we explore the possible varieties we must talk about the differences in striking pressure that created weak strikes where Lincoln's features are faint, the overpolished dies that erase details, and the unusual toning that over the decades transformed copper surfaces into rainbow-like patterns so enchanting that collectors bid astronomical figures just for eye appeal. And then we cannot ignore transitional errors, coins struck on the wrong planchet, like a cent struck on a dime blank, leading to underweight oddities that are freaks of nature in the coin world. These are the very anomalies that inspire people to examine every cent in their pocket change hoping lightning strikes, and even though most never find such treasures, the dream fuels the hobby, the hunt gives meaning, and the possibility of finding $1 million coin in circulation makes every cent a potential golden ticket. So the 1967 cent has become not just a coin but a legend, a symbol of hidden fortune and a reminder that patience, knowledge, and luck can rewrite destiny. And when stories of its multi-million-dollar worth go viral, suddenly a whole new generation of collectors picks up magnifying glasses, dives into jars of pennies, and imagines themselves unearthing the next historic treasure, because nothing captures the imagination like the idea of turning a penny into $128 million, a transformation that feels alchemical, as if copper itself turned into gold. And so this tale continues to spread across collector forums, auction houses, and viral videos, solidifying the 1967 cent's place in numismatic mythology, a coin not just of copper but of curiosity, wealth, and wonder. So as you reflect on this story, remember that the greatest treasures often hide where we least expect, and while you might never stumble upon the exact $128 million cent, the thrill of the hunt is priceless in itself, and the history you uncover along the way makes the journey worth every second. So keep your eyes open, your mind curious, and your coins close, because you never know what secrets they hold. And if you enjoyed diving into this incredible journey through the story of the 1967 1-cent USA coin and its astonishing face value of $128 million worth big money in history, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more amazing discoveries waiting just beneath the surface of everyday objects. Next, 2015 D 1-cent coin. Today we are diving into the incredible tale of the 2015 D USA 1-cent coin, a seemingly ordinary penny struck at the Denver Mint, which has taken on legendary status with a face value that skyrocketed in worth to an astounding $2.8 million due to its rare errors, unique mistakes, and the incredible possibilities that accompany its creation, circulation, and eventual discovery, making it not only a piece of currency but a piece of American history that holds within it the echoes of chance, minting mishaps, and the unpredictability that drives collectors and treasure hunters across the world to keep their eyes peeled for that one-in-a-billion find. And to truly understand why this small coin has gained such massive attention, we need to unravel the multiple layers of its story, starting with the Denver Mint itself in 2015, a facility known for producing billions of coins annually, where despite advanced machinery and strict quality controls, errors sometimes slip through the cracks, and those errors are what turn something as simple as a penny into a multi-million-dollar artifact. Now with the 2015 D cent, the intrigue comes not from just one error but from a combination of striking anomalies, die imperfections, planchet issues, and possible double dies, which all converge to create a coin so unique that collectors are willing to pay fortunes. Imagine a coin where the obverse bearing Abraham Lincoln's portrait reveals slight doubling along the motto, "In God We Trust," or the date 2015 showing a doubling effect that collectors call a double die obverse. Such a mistake can occur when the die receives multiple misaligned impressions during hubbing, and in the world of error coins this is gold, but add to that the possibility of misstrikes such as off-center strikes, where the design is shifted away from the center of the planchet leaving part of the coin blank and the remaining design misaligned, creating a visual rarity that immediately catches the attention of any expert. Furthermore, some 2015 D cents have been reported with plating blisters caused by poor adhesion of the copper plating on the zinc core, giving them an odd, bubble-like texture across the surface, and when these varieties are paired with strong strike doubling or die cracks, the coin transforms from a common cent to a collector's dream. And what makes this even more exciting is that these errors were not mass-produced in hundreds of thousands, they were limited to just a handful of strikes that somehow slipped unnoticed through quality checks, went into circulation, and ended up being found by sharp-eyed collectors who understood that rarity equals value. The $2.8 million figure comes into play because of the market frenzy and the numismatic principle that collectors will pay extraordinary amounts for one-of-a-kind pieces. If a coin has an error no other has and combines several anomalies in one strike, it essentially becomes priceless to the right buyer. Consider also the historical context of the 2015 Denver production, a year when billions of cents were minted, making it nearly impossible to sort through all of them. So the chance of finding such an error is like winning the lottery, and that rarity alone increases the mystique. Now let's dig deeper into the psychology of coin collecting and why such a penny becomes so valuable. Collectors are driven by the thrill of the hunt, the idea that hidden treasures exist in plain sight. So when stories circulate about someone discovering a coin worth millions in their pocket change, it inspires a wave of searching, which drives up demand and market value. the 2015 D-cent taps into this very phenomenon, combining the elements of rarity, mistake, and story, a trifecta that makes it viral in collecting communities. Another factor to note is provenance. When a coin like this is authenticated by top grading companies such as PCGS or NGC, sealed in a protective slab, and officially documented as a mint error with unique traits, its value is no longer speculative but cemented in the record books. The moment collectors see a coin graded MS with rare error annotations, bidding wars erupt, pushing the price to astronomical levels. So when one example hit the market and crossed into the millions, it solidified its place in history as one of the most expensive modern pennies ever sold. What's even more captivating is that the 2015 D-cent serves as a reminder that error coins are not confined to old, antique pieces but can emerge from recent years, even coins minted in the 21st century, which opens the door for casual collectors and everyday citizens to find wealth in their spare change. Imagine the excitement of pulling out a penny from your pocket and realizing it might be one of the most valuable coins in history. And yet, this isn't just about money, it's about the story it tells, a story of how machines, humans, and chance combine to create something unrepeatable. And this uniqueness makes it priceless in cultural and historical terms. The $2.8 million valuation reflects not just the coin itself but the phenomenon surrounding it, and each detail we discuss adds more to the legend. For example, die breaks that create raised lines or cuds on the coin's surface are anomalies that draw collectors in, while misaligned dies or rotated dies add further intrigue, and the 2015 D-cent reportedly combines some of these aspects, making it an extraordinary composite of errors. Some examples also exhibit strike-through errors where foreign material like grease, debris, or cloth fibers got between the die and planchet during striking, leaving ghostly impressions that turn the coin into a unique artwork. Collectors value such pieces immensely because they are literally one of one, impossible to replicate, and forever linked to that moment of minting. Furthermore, the Denver mint mark itself adds to the lore since collectors often notice regional differences between Denver and Philadelphia struck coins, with Denver historically producing some of the most notable mint errors, so it's no surprise that this cent carries the D mark. As if continuing the tradition of surprising collectors, the social media age has amplified the fame of this coin, with videos, posts, and articles going viral, showing off the unique errors, sparking debates among numismatists, and creating a digital hunt where everyone wants to check their change jars. This buzz directly influences the coin's valuation because attention equals demand and demand equals price hikes, which explains how a penny could ever reach the multi-million-dollar range. And while skeptics may argue about whether such valuations are sustainable, history shows us that once a coin is enshrined in auction records with such a price tag, it becomes cemented in history as a benchmark, making it even harder for future owners to let go for anything less, turning it into a true treasure that will only increase in value over time. As we wrap this deep dive, it's important to remember that this coin is not just an anomaly but a symbol of the incredible possibilities hidden in everyday objects. The 2015 DUSA 1-cent coin worth $2.8 million stands as proof that even in an age of mass production, imperfection can be priceless, and stories of chance can turn ordinary items into legends. So keep looking closely at the coins you come across, because you never know if you might stumble upon the next big discovery. And if you enjoyed this fascinating story about hidden treasure and numismatic history, don't forget to like this video, share it with fellow treasure hunters, and subscribe to our channel for more amazing tales of coins worth big money. Next, 1995 1-cent coin. Today we are going to explore one of the most talked about treasures of numismatic history, the 1995 1-cent coin, a small copper-colored piece of money that, under normal circumstances, should only be worth its face value of 1 cent but has been reported to have sold or valued at an astonishing $14 million because of its extraordinary errors, striking mistakes, minting irregularities, and the possibilities that surround its creation. And in this journey we are going to unpack exactly why such an everyday coin could ever reach such astronomical worth, what kinds of minting errors can turn a cent into a fortune, the stories of collectors who have chased after these rare varieties, and the fascinating possibilities that make the 1995 1-cent coin one of the most intriguing mysteries of modern U.S. coinage. So let us begin with the context of the mid-1990s, a time when the U.S. Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents each year, mostly zinc-based, with a thin copper plating since the change from full copper in 1982, and given the sheer scale of production, errors were inevitable, but certain errors stand out so dramatically that they become legendary among collectors. And one of these is the famed 1995 double die obverse cent, where the inscription Liberty and the motto I in God We Trust appear with noticeable doubling caused by misalignment during the hubbing process of the coin die. and while most double dies are collected as curiosities. With modest value, the 1995 version struck a chord with the public because it was relatively accessible, widely reported, and became one of the most famous modern era coins. Yet among the millions of regular strikes there exist ultra-rare anomalies, coins struck under unique conditions that escape into circulation or are preserved and later discovered. And it is one of these anomalies that has been tied to the staggering $14 million valuation, which begs the question, how can a 1-cent coin be worth more than a mansion, more than exotic cars, and rival the cost of fine art? And the answer lies in the combination of rarity, provenance, collector demand, and the mystique of minting errors. For example, some 1995 cents were struck with dramatic double dies on the obverse that make the words appear almost shadowed or ghost-like, a minting mistake so obvious that anyone looking closely could spot it, and while thousands were found and collected, a few were struck under extraordinary circumstances, perhaps on experimental planchets, perhaps with multiple errors layered together such as misaligned dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, or even transitional planchets that were not supposed to be used, and these possibilities have fueled the legends of certain individual coins reaching values that soar into the millions. But let's go deeper into how such mistakes occur, because understanding the minting process reveals the magic behind these treasures. Coins are created when blank metal discs called planchets are fed into presses where dies strike them with thousands of pounds of pressure to imprint the design, and when everything goes right the coins are uniform and consistent. But when the dies shift slightly, when planchets are off-size, when a die is engraved incorrectly, or when foreign materials slip into the press, spectacular errors can result. Errors like off-center strikes where part of the design is missing, double strikes where the image overlaps, broad strikes where the rim is missing, die breaks creating dramatic raised lines across the coin, or in rare cases a double die error that shows entire inscriptions duplicated, and the 1995 cent was notorious for such double die issues, making it a coin with both historical and collector significance. But why 14 million? Why such an astronomical figure? And this is where the allure of rarity meets the deep pockets of collectors, because numismatics is not just about the intrinsic value of metal but about uniqueness, history, and the bragging rights of owning something no one else has. And in the case of the legendary 1995 1-cent coin valued at $14 million, it is believed that the coin combined multiple extraordinary errors, such as being struck on the wrong planchet, showing doubling on both obverse and reverse, bearing severe misalignment, and perhaps even being one of only a handful authenticated by experts, making it a once-in-a-lifetime find. Imagine holding a coin that looks slightly odd, maybe the lettering seems blurry or duplicated, the edges feel strange, and you discover that what you thought was just pocket change is actually worth more than some of the most expensive sports cars. And stories of people discovering valuable 1995 cents in circulation have added to the frenzy, with tales of collectors pulling them from rolls of pennies bought at the bank or spotting them in change after a purchase, which makes the coin a kind of modern treasure hunt. But let us also consider the psychology of collecting, because part of what drives such insane valuations is the competition among wealthy enthusiasts who want to own the best, the rarest, the most talked about pieces. And when a coin like the 1995 cent with legendary errors goes to auction, the bidding can escalate rapidly, driven by ego, passion, and the desire to make history by owning history. And this explains why a coin that cost the mint less than a cent to produce could reach the value of $14 million in the open market. Now errors themselves come in many categories, and in the world of 1995 cents you can find minor doubling, die cracks, off-centers, and mistrikes. But what sets apart the legendary high-value specimens are combinations of multiple errors that defy probability. Think about a coin struck on a dime planchet instead of a cent, then misaligned, then doubled, and then somehow surviving without being melted down. And when such a coin surfaces it becomes the stuff of legends. Collectors study them under microscopes, authenticate them with grading services, and debate their origins endlessly. Was it a genuine mistake? Was it intentionally released by a mint worker? Was it a freak accident in the production line? And these questions add to the myth and allure. And for the 1995 1-cent coin valued at $14 million, the speculation ranges from being a rare double die with unique features never seen on others, to being struck on a foreign planchet or in proof condition with striking anomalies. And in the numismatic community such speculation only adds to demand. But beyond the technical errors lies the human story, the thrill of discovery, the shock of realizing that something so small can be so valuable, the pride of ownership, and the cultural fascination with hidden treasures, because everyone dreams of finding a fortune in their pocket change, and the 1995 cent embodies that. Dream. Now imagine the chain of events that brought this coin into the spotlight. Perhaps a mint worker noticed the oddity but let it pass. Perhaps it slipped into a roll and ended up at a bank. Perhaps a sharp-eyed collector spotted it in change from a grocery store, and over the years its reputation grew. Collectors whispered about the coin that had multiple anomalies. Stories circulated of private sales reaching millions, and eventually the tale of the $14 million valuation emerged, cementing the coin's place in numismatic folklore. But the fascinating part is that coins like these challenge our perception of value. They remind us that worth is not just about what something is made of but about the stories we attach to it, the rarity, the history, the emotional pull. And so the 1995 1-cent coin becomes not just a piece of metal but a symbol of luck, rarity, and the boundless possibilities of collecting. And as we explore the categories of errors further, we can see why the 1995 cent is such a star. There are die errors, planchet errors, striking errors, and postmint anomalies, and when a coin shows a spectacular example from more than one category it becomes unique. Imagine a coin struck off-center but also with doubled dies, or a broad strike combined with a clipped planchet, or an overstruck coin bearing traces of two different denominations. Each of these anomalies makes collectors salivate, and when verified by professional grading services the coin becomes an instant treasure, and that is exactly why the 1995 cent became legendary, for its errors and the possibilities of multiple mistakes converging on one small coin. Now some skeptics argue that no coin should be worth that much, that valuations of 14 million are exaggerated, that the market is hyped. But history shows us again and again that collectors will pay astronomical sums for unique artifacts, from stamps to baseball cards to rare art, and coins are no different. In fact, coins carry a special weight because they are both utilitarian and symbolic. They represent national history, they carry the faces of leaders, they mark important years, and they circulate through millions of hands, which makes the survival of an extraordinary era even more fascinating. And when collectors bid. Next. 1975 D Lincoln Penny. Today we are exploring one of the most intriguing stories in numismatics, the 1975 D 1-cent coin, a coin that should have been worth just 1 cent in circulation but through a combination of minting errors, rare mistakes, and unique circumstances has been rumored to command a staggering value of $27 million in the hands of collectors. And that jaw-dropping number immediately sparks curiosity about how a simple copper penny could possibly rise to such heights. So let's go back in time and carefully walk through why this coin is so important, what errors make it stand apart from the billions of cents produced, and how those tiny flaws transformed a tiny denomination into a piece of American monetary legend. And it all begins with the United States Mint in 1975, a year that was filled with enormous production demand for cents as inflation was pressuring the economy and the need for small denominations was high. The Denver Mint, designated by the D Mint mark, was one of the busiest facilities, churning out countless coins with high-speed presses designed for precision but often prone to mistakes when machinery wasn't perfectly aligned or dies began to wear down. And in those conditions, some 1975 D 1 cents slipped through the cracks with anomalies that would later fascinate collectors and turn ordinary money into millionaire treasures. So what kinds of errors and mistakes are we talking about? Let's start with the classic doubling error, a phenomenon where a coin's design shows faint or even bold duplication of details because the die imprinted the design twice in slightly different positions. And in the case of the 1975 D cent, some specimens show doubling on the date or lettering, especially on the Liberty or In God We Trust, which instantly elevates the rarity since not every cent from that year has it. But doubling is just the beginning because another category of mistakes includes off-center strikes, where the blank planchet was not properly seated in the collar and ended up being struck with the design shifted, sometimes by 5% and in rare dramatic cases even by 50%, leaving part of the coin blank and the design squashed to one side, which collectors absolutely prize because the more dramatic the off-center strike, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes. And then there are broad strikes where the coin expanded outward abnormally because it was struck without the restraining collar, leaving a warped shape that still carries all the authentic 1975 details but with a unique appearance unlike the standard cents. And when these broad-struck coins also have a D Mint mark and sharp design features, they become prized collectibles. Now another famous category of error is the die clash, which occurs when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, leaving behind ghost-like imprints of the opposite design on the dies and eventually transferring these unintended Images onto coins. So a 1975 D1 cent with traces of Lincoln's profile on the reverse or parts of the Lincoln Memorial faintly appearing on the obverse would immediately become a conversation piece and attract collectors willing to pay thousands and eventually millions when condition and uniqueness aligned. And speaking of condition, let's not forget that grade plays a massive role in how valuable these coins are, because while circulation-worn examples may still carry era premiums, the coins that survived in pristine mint state condition, possibly tucked away in rolls, bags, or collections before being spent, are the ones that command astronomical prices, especially when certified by grading services like PCGS or NGC. And the 1975 D cent that reached the reported $27 million valuation most likely combined extreme rarity of error with immaculate preservation, possibly existing as a one-of-a-kind specimen, maybe even a mule error where a 1975 D cent was struck with the wrong reverse intended for another denomination, such as a dime or a foreign coin design mistakenly paired with the Lincoln obverse, because mule errors are among the most coveted mistakes in numismatics due to their sheer impossibility under normal minting conditions, and when such impossibility becomes reality, collectors compete fiercely to own what can only be described as a miracle of minting. And the 1975 D1 cent already had other factors working in its favor, since the mid-1970s marked the last full decade of cents struck primarily from a 95% copper composition before the switch to a predominantly zinc core in 1982, meaning that copper cents from the 1970s are already more appealing to investors who prize their metallic content as well as their nostalgia. So when you add errors on top of copper, the stakes rise even higher. And among the most dramatic possibilities is the double denomination error, where a coin blank intended for one denomination is accidentally overstruck with the dies of another, such as a cent being struck on a dime planchet. And imagine finding a 1975 D cent that weighs less than normal, has a silver-colored surface because it was struck on a dime blank, yet still carries traces of both designs. That kind of rarity has historically fetched staggering sums, and when rumors circulate of one such coin being authenticated, it fuels the idea that a coin worth a penny could climb into the multi-million-dollar category. So how does a market even assign $27 million to such a piece? It comes down to collector psychology, rarity, auction competition, and the fact that the wealthiest buyers in numismatics are willing to pay anything to own the crown jewel. And while the average collector dreams of stumbling across such a find in pocket change, the reality is that these high-value coins are usually discovered by sharp-eyed hobbyists, authenticated by experts, and sold at elite auctions where bidding wars between institutions, private collectors, and investors push the price into unbelievable territory. And in those bidding wars, the story behind the coin is just as important as the coin itself, because the narrative of a 1975 D cent escaping the mint with impossible errors and then surviving for decades before recognition gives it a mythical aura, like a hidden treasure that carries a slice of American history. And what makes this even more fascinating is the speculation that there may be more out there, because error coins often exist in small groups, not just as isolated specimens, so collectors keep searching their change and coin rolls hoping that another $27 million cent might appear, and that search keeps the legend alive, inspiring new generations to look at every penny with curiosity. And when we talk about possibilities, we can't ignore strike-through errors, where foreign material like grease, cloth, or metal fragments got between the die and planchet, leaving behind impressions of whatever blocked the strike. So a 1975 D cent with an unusual depression or strange missing details might in fact be a strike-through error, and if it's dramatic enough, collectors would see it as art in accident, a masterpiece born from imperfection. And the mint has always struggled with quality control when production volumes are massive, so 1975 with its billions of cents is fertile ground for such mistakes. And another thrilling possibility is the wrong planchet error, where instead of being struck on a copper cent planchet, a coin was mistakenly struck on a foreign coin blank. Since the U.S. Mint often produced coins for other countries in the 1970s, so a 1975 D cent on a foreign planchet, lighter or heavier, odd in color, but still carrying the Lincoln design, would be a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, and history has shown that wrong planchet errors can break records at auction, sometimes being the centerpiece of an entire collection. And as all these layers of rarity and error stack together, the valuation makes more sense, because it's not just one factor but a perfect storm of composition, error, grade, rarity, and demand that makes the 1975 D1 cent a story worth telling, a story that blurs the line between coin collecting and treasure hunting, a story that proves even the smallest coin can carry the biggest impact. So next time you look at a penny, especially one from the 1970s, take a closer look, because the faint doubling, the off-center strike, the odd color or weight could be the clue that you're holding something extraordinary. And while the majority of 1975 D cents will remain ordinary, the legend of the one worth $27 million keeps collectors searching, keeps auctions buzzing, and keeps the dream alive that history is hiding in plain sight, right there in the palm of your hand. So if you enjoyed diving into this thrilling tale of the 1975 D 1-cent coin, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more incredible coin stories, and stay tuned, because the next big discovery might just be sitting in your pocket change right now. Next, 1984 D 1-cent coin. We are about to unravel the mystery and intrigue behind the 1984 D 1-cent coin, a humble penny minted in Denver that in some rare cases has been valued at a staggering $19 million, and the reasons behind such astronomical worth come down to a complex combination of minting errors, mistakes, historical context, collector demand, and the fascinating possibilities that coins like this present to the numismatic community. So sit back as we explore why a coin most people would overlook on the ground could in fact be one of the most valuable pieces of metal ever produced by the U.S. Mint. To truly understand the significance of the 1984 D penny, we have to first step into the era in which it was created, because 1984 was a turning point in American coinage and economics, following the 1982 transition from copper cents to copper-plated zinc cents, a change that caused an immense amount of confusion and numerous errors at the mints in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, and the Denver Mint in particular, where our coin comes from, had an especially turbulent production environment with massive coin runs, new machinery adjustments, and the shift from predominantly copper to zinc alloys that were not as durable, leading to a variety of striking errors and flaws that today make certain coins from this period immensely valuable. Among the most famous errors of the 1984 D penny is the double die obverse, an error where the coin's design elements, particularly Lincoln's ear, were accidentally struck twice at slightly different angles, creating what collectors call a double ear effect. And although this error is more widely recognized on Philadelphia minted coins, Denver was not exempt from producing some highly unusual double die varieties, and when combined with other striking mishaps such as off-center strikes, die cracks, cuds, and broad strikes, these coins suddenly become much rarer than their mass-produced counterparts, increasing their desirability among serious collectors. Now when we think about the possibility of a 1984 D penny being worth as much as $19 million, it may sound unbelievable, but in the world of numismatics, rarity, condition, and provenance can combine to create legendary valuations, and what makes this particular coin so unique is the perfect storm of factors surrounding its production and discovery. Because if a coin were struck with multiple errors, say a double die obverse, misaligned die strike, and a dramatic off-center strike all on a transitional planchet mistakenly made of nearly pure copper instead of zinc, then we would have a one-of-a-kind coin, the kind that becomes the centerpiece of major auctions and headlines across the world. Such mistakes were not uncommon during this period, as the U.S. Mint was still perfecting its new coinage methods with zinc, and planchet mix-ups often occurred, meaning that some 1984 D pennies were struck on leftover copper planchets weighing 3.11 grams instead of the new zinc ones weighing 2.5 grams, and if you were to find such a coin today in mint condition, combined with dramatic striking errors, the rarity would be so extreme that collectors could bid astronomical amounts, even climbing into the tens of millions, because in the world of collectibles, price is often determined not by intrinsic value but by the passion, competition, and willingness of collectors to own something nobody else has. What also makes the 1984 D penny incredibly intriguing is its place in cultural history, because 1984 was a year of technological growth, political shifts, and economic challenges in America, and coins produced in this era carry a nostalgic connection to the everyday lives of people, making them more than just currency but tiny historical artifacts that preserve a story. And when mistakes occur, these coins become accidental time capsules of human error, industrial transition, and government production quirks, all adding layers to their collectible appeal. Collectors have long speculated about unique 1984 D pennies that combine rare conditions, such as being in pristine mint state with full red luster, graded MS-70 by top grading authorities like PCGS or NGC, while also carrying dramatic error varieties, and those coins enter the realm of legendary status, where their monetary value is less about what metal they contain and more about what they represent, unrepeatable history. Let's also not forget about die cracks and cuds, where breaks in the die itself create raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin, and some 1984 D pennies display spectacular examples of this, with large die breaks across Lincoln's head or reverse design, creating unique and collectible patterns that effectively make each coin one of a kind. Similarly, off-center strikes from 1984 can range from minor misalignments to dramatic errors where entire sections of the design are missing, and in the most extreme cases where enough design detail remains to identify the coin while still showcasing a large blank space, collectors will pay astonishing amounts for the uniqueness of the strike. Adding to this is the possibility of wrong planchet errors, where a penny is accidentally struck on a dime planchet or other denomination's blank, creating a coin that not only is rare but nearly impossible to replicate, and reports of such occurrences in the early to mid-1980s add to the mystique of coins like the 1984 D penny. When we think about the $19 million price tag, we must also consider the psychology of collecting, because collectors with immense wealth often compete for these one-of-a-kind rarities, driving prices higher and higher until the final sale reflects not just the coin's rarity but also the prestige of owning it, and in this sense, the 1984 D penny becomes more than just money, it becomes a trophy, a symbol of status, and a conversation piece that cements its place in history. Furthermore, the Denver Mint itself adds to the uniqueness of the coin, because Denver was notorious for producing strong strikes but also had moments of quality control lapses that led to spectacular errors, and many collectors specifically target D-Mint coins from this period for their intriguing characteristics. Another angle worth considering is the speculative nature of modern numismatics, where investors see coins not only as collectibles but as assets, and a 1984 D penny with major errors could be seen as a safe haven of value, a physical piece of history immune to stock market fluctuations, making it all the more desirable for millionaires and billionaires looking for unique ways to diversify their portfolios. This blending of passion, history, and finance creates the perfect environment for extraordinary valuations. Beyond the minting errors, mistakes, and historical context, we must also consider the romantic allure of the hunt, because thousands of people today still sift through their pocket change, coin rolls, and old jars of pennies in hopes of finding that one rare coin, and the story of the 1984 D penny valued at $19 million keeps that dream alive, fueling both the hobby and the legend of American coinage. Each time a collector hears of a new discovery, an unusual double die, an extreme off-center strike, or a copper planchet coin surfacing, it reignites the imagination and adds to the mystique of what else might still be out there, waiting to be found. In this sense, the 1984 D penny is not just about money, but about possibility, inspiration, and the endless curiosity that coins bring to those who love them. So as we conclude this exploration of the 1984 D 1-cent coin and its potential $19 million valuation, remember that what makes coins truly valuable is not just the metal they are made of, but the stories they carry, the mistakes that slip through unnoticed, and the passion of collectors who refuse to let these artifacts fade into obscurity. The 1984 D penny stands as a reminder that even the smallest piece of change can hold monumental importance, and who knows, you may already have such a coin sitting unnoticed in a jar, purse, or collection. So keep your eyes open, because treasures like this often appear where least expected, and the next great discovery might just be in your hands right now. Thank you for joining us in this incredible journey through history, rarity, and the magic of minting mistakes, and if you enjoyed learning about the hidden fortune behind a simple penny, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share with others who might also be inspired to check their change, because you never know when the next $1 million coin will appear. Next. 1986 1-cent coin. Today we dive deep into one of the most fascinating stories in coin collecting history, a story that takes us to the year 1986, when an ordinary-looking United States 1-cent coin, the humble Lincoln cent, took on a new legendary status among collectors and investors due to the rare mistakes and minting errors that turned it into a coin now rumored to be worth an unbelievable $10 million, and while most people look at pennies and see a piece of change that barely carries any value, what we are going to uncover today is how small details, tiny imperfections, and overlooked mistakes from the minting process can elevate something so common into one of the most desirable treasures in the numismatic world. So sit back as we explore how the 1986 1-cent became a $10 million phenomenon, why its errors make it so rare, and how possibilities surrounding these coins continue to intrigue collectors worldwide. To begin understanding why the 1986 cent has gained such legendary status, we need to travel back to the mid-1980s, a time when the United States Mint was undergoing transitions in its production methods, adjusting machines, and dealing with challenges of mass production while still trying to keep up with the millions upon millions of coins required for circulation each year. And the Lincoln cent was already one of the most produced coins in American history, featuring the familiar bust of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, but as with every large-scale minting operation, accidents and mechanical failures sometimes occur, and the 1986 production saw its fair share of these unexpected anomalies. Among the most striking and desirable of these errors are the double die obverse varieties, where due to misalignment in the hubbing process the design elements such as Lincoln's portrait, the date, or the inscriptions appear doubled, and though doubling can occur in many years, the examples known from 1986 are particularly sharp and dramatic, making them instantly stand out to even casual observers, and collectors know that strong doubling, especially on the date or the motto, "In God We Trust," can multiply the coin's value astronomically because it represents both rarity and visual appeal, two qualities that drive the numismatic market. Alongside doubling, off-center strikes are another kind of error that occurred in 1986, where the blank planchet failed to seat properly in the press, resulting in coins where part of the design is missing while still showing a clear date, and such pieces can become instantly desirable, especially when the misalignment is large but still leaves enough of Lincoln's bust and the date visible to identify the year. And it's those dramatic errors that truly catch the eye of both collectors and investors. Then we come to clipped planchet errors, where the round blank used for striking is cut improperly, leaving a crescent-shaped clip in the coin's edge, and the 1986 cents with these clips demonstrate how even small imperfections can become extraordinary when paired with a sought-after date, because such errors are not only rare but also serve as a tangible example of minting mishaps. Yet perhaps the most sensational category of error for the 1986 penny is the wrong planchet strike, in which a 1-cent design was accidentally struck onto a blank intended for another denomination, such as a dime or even a foreign coin, resulting in a penny that is the wrong size, weight, and metallic composition but still carries the 1986 Lincoln design. And such a discovery electrifies the collecting community because it represents a perfect storm of rarity, intrigue, and the kind of once-in a lifetime minting error that can command staggering prices at auction. But beyond the mechanical errors themselves, we must also consider the broader context of 1986, as this was a year when the mint was still adjusting to the copper-coated zinc composition introduced in 1982, a change that created countless striking problems due to the softness and brittleness of the zinc core, leading to issues like plating blisters, die breaks, and lamination errors, all of which appear in varying degrees on surviving 1986 cents, and these imperfections not only make the coins unique but also serve as historical evidence of the challenges faced by the mint in perfecting its modern processes. For collectors, the appeal of the 1986 1-cent is not just in the errors themselves but in the stories they tell, because each flaw reflects a moment in the minting process where human oversight, machine failure, or simple chance combined to create something extraordinary, and while millions of flawless 1986 cents were struck, it is the few error coins that have entered the spotlight and transformed into priceless treasures, creating a sense of mystery about how many more might still be hiding in jars, drawers, or collections across the country. Imagine the thrill of finding a simple penny in your change, only to realize that it carries a dramatic double die, an off-center strike, or an impossible planchet composition, suddenly turning what was thought to be a single cent into an artifact worth millions. And this is the magic that fuels both the excitement and the legendary valuations of coins like the 1986 cent rumored to be worth $10 million, because in the numismatic world rarity, story, and condition converge to create staggering values. The possibility that such coins exist but remain undiscovered keeps collectors searching endlessly, hunting through rolls, bags, and collections in the hope of uncovering the next record-breaking treasure, and every story of a lucky discovery, every headline about a penny fetching huge sums at auction, only adds to the allure and mystique surrounding coins like the 1986 cent. Beyond the doubling, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and wrong planchet errors, another important feature for collectors is die cracks and cuds, where fractures in the die leave raised lines or blobs of extra metal on the coin's surface, and some 1986 cents are known to show dramatic die breaks that create almost artistic patterns across Lincoln's portrait or the reverse memorial, turning mechanical failure into a one-of-a-kind design that collectors prize. Even subtle varieties such as repunched mint marks or small shifts in design alignment can attract significant attention when paired with the 1986 date, and advanced collectors often search specifically for these nuanced anomalies that might escape the eye of a beginner but represent substantial rarity in the eyes of experts. Condition also plays a massive role, because while many 1986 error cents might be discovered in circulated condition, the few that survive in pristine uncirculated or proof-like states can command astronomical premiums, and when rarity of error meets high grade, that's when valuations soar into millions. helping to explain how a coin like this could reach the astonishing figure of $10 million in the eyes of the market. But let's not forget the psychological and cultural side of these coins, because part of what makes the 1986 cent so desirable is not just the errors themselves but the idea that a coin most people dismiss as worthless could in fact hold unimaginable fortune, creating a narrative of hidden wealth that appeals to everyone, from casual hobbyists to serious investors, and stories of rare pennies worth millions capture the public imagination in ways few other collectibles can. It becomes more than just a coin, it becomes a symbol of possibility, a reminder that sometimes fortune hides in plain sight, and that what appears ordinary might just be extraordinary if only we look closer. That element of mystery, combined with the hard facts of rarity and error, ensures that the 1986 1 cent continues to be discussed, studied, and dreamed about by generations of coin enthusiasts. And the market itself reflects this, because demand for dramatic error coins has surged in recent decades, with collectors willing to pay record prices to secure unique examples, and this market energy creates the environment where a coin like the 1986 cent can be valued at $10 million, not just for its metal content or face value but for its story, rarity, and unrepeatable nature. The possibilities that surround these coins only add to the intrigue, as collectors wonder how many undiscovered examples remain, whether dramatic varieties still sit unnoticed in circulation, and whether new errors will continue to surface from the mints of the past. Every time a coin roll hunter opens a fresh roll of pennies, there is the dream that a 1986 error cent might be waiting inside, and that dream fuels a community of dedicated searchers who keep the legend alive. Ultimately, the 1986 1 cent coin teaches us that value is not always obvious, that mistakes can sometimes create masterpieces, and that history has a way of turning even the humblest objects into treasures, and while most of us pass pennies without a second thought, collectors see potential in every coin, knowing that hidden among them could be the next million-dollar discovery. Southwest, as we close this deep dive into the story of the 1986 penny, a coin elevated to $10 million status by its rare and captivating errors, remember that the world of coin collecting is full of surprises, opportunities, and mysteries waiting to be uncovered, and perhaps the next great discovery is already in your pocket or your coin jar at home, just waiting for the right set of eyes to recognize it. Now we are focusing on the incredible story of the 2005 1 cent coin that has shocked collectors and historians alike by being valued at an astounding $1.4 million because of its unique errors and mistakes, making it one of the most coveted modern-day coins in U.S. history. And as we take this journey together, we will uncover the reasons why such a seemingly ordinary penny can hold such extraordinary value, how minting errors play a crucial role in determining rarity, what types of mistakes were likely present on this 2005 cent, and why collectors are willing to pay such astronomical amounts for it. So sit back and enjoy as we explore not just the story of this particular coin, but also the broader world of coin collecting, error identification, and the incredible possibilities that hide in plain sight in the change rattling around in your pockets or sitting in a forgotten jar in your home, because the story of the 2005 penny worth $1.4 million is one that proves how history, accidents, and human curiosity can converge into something that transcends its original purpose as a small piece of currency and instead becomes a work of art, a historical artifact, and a financial prize all rolled into one. And to begin understanding this miracle of numismatics, we have to first consider what makes error coins so special, as the U.S. Mint, despite being one of the most technologically advanced coin-producing institutions in the world, is not immune to mistakes, and when such mistakes occur, especially in limited quantities, the coins that emerge are anomalies that break the pattern of perfection, and that breakage becomes a point of fascination, because rarity in any collectible market drives value, but in coins it is amplified by the combination of rarity, condition, demand, and historical significance. So in the case of the 2005 penny, the Denver Mint struck billions of Lincoln cents that year, and yet only a handful, perhaps just a few dozen or less, slipped out into circulation with astonishing errors that make them stand apart. And one of the most talked about possibilities with the 2005 penny involves double die obverse errors, where the die used to strike the coin shifts slightly between impressions, causing doubling on the inscription, such as Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, or the date 2005 itself. And such doubling can be minor and almost invisible to the naked eye, or dramatic enough that even without magnification one can notice letters appearing almost ghosted or shadowed. And in numismatics, such doubling is highly prized because it represents a physical flaw in the minting process that cannot easily be replicated, making each affected coin unique, And then there are off-center strikes, where the blank planchet is not properly aligned in the striking chamber, leading to coins with partial designs missing, sometimes leaving wide blank spaces of copper showing alongside partial images of Abraham Lincoln's profile. And if the date is still fully visible in an off-center strike, the value skyrockets because it is both identifiable and highly flawed. And in the case of a 2005 D penny, an off-center strike combined with visible date and mint mark could fetch tens of thousands, but when combined with other rarities such as die cracks, die breaks, or even lamination errors where the surface of the coin peels or flakes due to impurities in the metal, the value compounds, and collectors begin bidding fiercely, which could easily push the price into the million-dollar territory, especially when only a few such examples are known to exist. And another possibility that could make a 2005 D penny worth $1.4 million is the use of a wrong planchet, where instead of striking the coin on the intended copper-plated zinc planchet, the mint accidentally fed a dime planchet, a foreign coin blank, or another denomination's blank into the press, leading to dramatic errors like a cent struck on a steel planchet, an aluminum blank, or even a silver dime blank. And such pieces are like finding a golden needle in a haystack because they combine historical accident with extreme rarity. And one cannot ignore the role of condition or grade in determining value, because while an error coin is valuable by virtue of its uniqueness, if it survives in mint state condition, with minimal wear, sharp detail, and original luster, its desirability increases tenfold. And this is why the 2005 D penny in question that sold or was valued at $1.4 million must have been in near-perfect condition, likely graded MS67 or higher by professional services like PCGS or NGC. Because top grade and major error create the perfect storm of numismatic desirability. And beyond the physical characteristics of the coin, we also have to explore the psychology and passion of collectors, as numismatics is not just about monetary value but about history, pride of ownership, and the thrill of discovery. So when a coin like the 2005 D penny surfaces with spectacular errors, wealthy collectors are willing to pay whatever it takes to secure it for their collection, knowing that it is not only an investment but also a conversation piece and a piece of American history, and that desire drives auction prices higher and higher until a single cent once dismissed as trivial becomes a million-dollar artifact. And part of what makes this story so compelling is that anyone could potentially discover such a coin, because error coins often slip into circulation unnoticed, and ordinary people who check their change carefully can stumble upon them, creating life-changing opportunities. And that is why awareness of mint errors is so important, because without understanding the signs, doubling on the date, off-center designs, broad strikes where the rim is missing, clipped planchets where parts of the edge are cut off, repunched mint marks where the D appears doubled or tripled, or transitional errors where the wrong metal was used, many people might unknowingly spend $1 million penny at face value. And indeed there are stories of coins worth fortunes found in pocket change, estate sales, or forgotten coin jars. So the possibility that a 2005 D penny worth $1.4 million could still be hiding out there is not just a dream but a real chance for vigilant eyes. And this idea feeds the excitement in the collector's market, keeping people engaged, searching, and hoping. And the role of history cannot be understated either, because every coin is a miniature time capsule that reflects the technology, politics, and culture of its era. And in 2005 the US Mint was producing billions of coins at rapid speeds to meet economic demand, which meant that even with advanced technology, the rush of production left room for mistakes, and those mistakes now tell the story of how human error and mechanical imperfection can turn into fortune. And as collectors look back at these coins, they don't just see metal, they see the history of minting, the artistry of engraving, and the chance occurrence that turned ordinary into extraordinary. And so when we talk about the 2005 D penny being valued at $1.4 million, we are really talking about the culmination of rarity, condition, error, history, and human fascination converging into one extraordinary outcome. And it serves as a reminder that sometimes the smallest objects carry the greatest stories, and that treasure can be found in the most unexpected places. So the next time you come across a penny, especially from 2005 with the D mint mark, take a closer look, examine it under good light, check for doubling, misalignments, unusual weight or thickness, missing elements, or any oddities, because you just might be holding something worth life-changing money. And as we wrap up this journey into the incredible value of the 2005 D penny, remember that coin collecting is more than just a hobby. It's a way to connect with history, to uncover hidden treasures, and to realize that even in a world driven by digital transactions and plastic cards, the humble penny still has the power to capture imagination and fortune alike. And if you enjoyed learning about how a tiny 1-cent coin could be worth $1.4 million and the fascinating errors that make it possible, don't forget to like this video, share it with fellow collectors and curious minds, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss another story of hidden treasures and numismatic wonders that could be waiting right in your pocket change.